Hey, y'all, it's Andrea from Andrea Speaks TV, back to bring you news and commentary you can use. Listen, I want to say thank you so much for trusting me to bring you news and information, and thank you so much for supporting and subscribing to the channel. Listen, y'all, I have some very shocking news an update, another update to give you about food shortages. You all know right here on the channel, we've talked about food shortages for quite some time now. And so I think that it seems like, more and more people are starting to wake up and realize, hey, something's not quite right about what's going on. We're continuously seeing higher food prices. I took you all with me in a local farmers market, and I showed you all how certain products were either in low supply, some were completely out of stock with no date of when they would be back in stock. And as I've also shared with you all, less food is being grown today to harvest tomorrow. So all of these things, we need to take into consideration. It should be more and more motivation for all of us, myself included, it should be more and more motivation for all of us to continue to build our emergency food supply, stock up on our survival needs. But listen to the information that I want to share with you. And I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, so this information comes from the Associated Press. Okay, the Associated Press first put this story out. And the UN food chief, okay, I took some notes here. He actually did an interview, okay, he did an interview. His name is David Beasley, and he is the UN, the United Nations World Food Program Executive Director. Okay, he had some words to say regarding what some would call the global food crisis, global food insecurity. And the title of the article says, UN food chief warns of, and I quote, hell on earth, food lows. Okay, I'm going to read the caption to the video. I'll go back and I'll post the link so that you can watch it. You can watch the video, listen to his words for yourself. But the caption of the video says, the war in Ukraine. Okay, so this information was first put out by the Associated Press. This particular link to this article is from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'll pin it in the comments below. But here's what the caption says, okay? And I took some notes as well, so I'll share with you some points that I took from it. The caption says, the war in Ukraine. Okay, we've talked about this, right? The war in Ukraine, the ongoing pandemic, okay? Now, our president most recently said that the pandemic was over. I don't know, do y'all believe that or not? So again, the caption says, the war in Ukraine, the ongoing pandemic, rise in inflation, and climate change have led to over 300 million people living on the brink of starvation. Okay, that is according to, again, the executive director of the United Nations World Food Program, David Beasley. Okay, now the article also mentions, or the caption to the video also mentions, that as fertilizer becomes more difficult to manufacture and export, countries in Africa and Asia are unable to harvest typical quantities of food. Here's a quote by Beasley, who said, the world produces enough food. Listen to this, y'all. He said, the world produces enough food to feed everybody on the planet, over 7.7 billion people, Beasley said. And I continue his quote. He said, 50% of that food, listen to this, y'all, 50% of that food is because of fertilizer. So if you don't have fertilizer, he's saying, you can't have harvest at the yields that you need. Think about that, y'all. I've talked about here on the channel concerns about fertilizer shortages. I was talking about this months ago, back when people weren't really talking about it. Fast forward to here we are today, And even just a few months ago, now people are, panicking, saying, oh my goodness, a fertilizer shortage is going on. Okay. He also had this to say. Well, the article also goes, not the article, but the caption to the video also goes on to say that climate change, we keep hearing a lot about climate change in the news, right? Climate change is a compounding factor contributing to droughts and famine. We've definitely seen less rain in certain areas. Famine, the caption says, in numerous countries. He also was quoted as saying, we're looking at an $11 billion shortfall of food production inside Africa alone. Okay. And our current president, as well as other countries, they have actually pledged financial assistance to help countries in Africa that they have identified are more at risk for whatever reason of seeing these types of famines, food shortages, things of that nature. Okay. But what about the American people? I just recently did a video and I said, there may come a time when they take from you. Okay. They may take from you in order to give to other people. Billions of dollars from the U.S. are being sent to aid other countries. Meanwhile, people like you and I, we're dealing with higher food prices. We're certainly feeling it in our pockets, right? And one thing that I want people to realize is, hey, they're saying, hey, it may be painful. Our current president said, he made a comment when he was talking about, he did a speech several months ago when he was talking about food shortages, and he admitted, that it would be painful for us. So think about that, y'all. We're going to have to feel the brunt of this just so that other countries can get the aid that they need for whatever reason. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against people getting help. I definitely feel like in certain situations, there should be assistance available to help countries and people who are in need. But at the same time, you got to take care of your people at home as well. We, the American people, we got to be taken care of. So getting back to the video, the UN food chief, okay, David Beasley, is saying, and I quote, we're looking at an $11 billion shortfall of food production inside Africa alone. Now I can go to Central America, South America, same issues on droughts, India devastated by heat and drought, and I can go on and on. This is what Beasley is saying, the United Nations food chief. This is what he said as he spoke to the Associated Press in the UN Rose Garden. Okay, so you'll see in the video, if you take time to watch the video, you'll see where he was actually walking outside and they just, stopped him, to get him to speak on this topic. Okay, so Beasley spoke to the Associated Press in the United Nations Rose Garden outside of the headquarters in New York during the 77th General Assembly. Okay. Couple of notes that I took. Some things have already been said. Again, these are some of the factors that he identified are contributing to the well, actually, he didn't say it specifically. He said some of them, but in the video you'll see that they put some words on the screen to kind of, I guess give you some background information as to maybe to support some of the comments that he made. So again, y'all, these are the factors that they're claiming are contributing to the global food crisis. Okay, the war in Ukraine, the ongoing pandemic, which again, our president was on camera. I think he was at the Detroit Auto Show, something like that. Make sure you research the 60 Minutes video where he spoke about that. I think they were at the Detroit Auto Show, something like that. But he said the pandemic was over. So again, the war in Ukraine, the ongoing pandemic, rising inflation, climate change have led to over 300 million people living on the brink of starvation. Okay. Fertilizer, again, just to mention fertilizer, as fertilizer becomes more difficult to manufacture and export, again, that's going to contribute to, less food being planted, less food being harvested. Um, think about this, y'all. The world, and these are quotes from the video, the world produces enough food to feed everybody on the planet, over 7.7 billion people. 50% of that food is because of fertilizer. So if there's no fertilizer, that means you can't harvest at the yields that you need. Okay. The UN food chief, David Beasley, he also acknowledged the fact that here in 2022, we are seeing a food pricing problem. Okay, the cost of food is steadily increasing. And this is what he said, y'all, and I quote this, okay? He said, if we don't get on top of this thing quickly, and I don't mean next year, he said, I mean this year, you will have a food availability problem in the year 2023, which is what, just a few months away. And that's gonna be, he said, hell on earth. Think about that, y'all. Now, haven't I said that before I even knew who he was, or before I even watched this video, I told you all less food is being grown today, whether it's due to, climate change, their accusations that farmers are being paid to destroy their crops. You all can comment on that if you want to. Droughts, challenges with getting fertilizer to grow your food, to grow the foods. All of these things are going on, right? And again, fertilizer, which from my understanding, my experience, is critical in the growth and harvest of foods. If you don't have that, guess what? That means you more than likely you're going to be able to harvest less and less food. So again, very important. I thought this was important. The UN food chief said that there's a food pricing problem in 2022. And he said, if we don't get on top of this thing quickly, let me say it again. He said that if we don't get on top of this thing quickly, and I don't mean next year, I mean this year, you will have a food availability problem in 2023. And that's going to be, and I quote, hell on earth. Okay. He also mentions that China, I don't think I knew this. This was new to me. China, he mentions, has an export ban on fertilizer. So for whatever reason, China is not shipping out fertilizer. Russia, who he mentioned is the number 2 producer of fertilizer. He mentions that Russia is struggling to get fertilizer sent out. We know that, based on whatever is going on with Russia and Ukraine, we know that many countries, including the U.S., implemented bans on being able to import goods from Russia. He also said, UN food chief David Beasley also said that fertilizer has to move to bring food security. Otherwise, there will be chaos all over the world. Think about that, y'all. When people are hungry and they're searching for food, imagine the things that people will do, to get the things that they need. Chaos. Okay? Think about that, y'all. He also spoke about the value of the dollar and the fact that he was able to, he mentions that, the world has been able to avert famine in the last few years by talking. He was saying that he himself, by working with world leaders, saying that we were able to avert famine by talking with world leaders. And the world leaders responded. They took action. And then, however, he says, now with everything going on with Ukraine, it's shutting down the breadbasket of the world. Okay, so I want to know your thoughts on this article. Again, the the UN food chief, David Beasley, is warning that if something is not done now, this year, can't wait until the future. He's warning that if something is not done now, as soon as possible, we will have a food availability problem in 2023. And that, he says, would be hell on earth. Think about it, y'all. As you watch this video, think about in your own home. Do you have enough food in your emergency food supply? Do you have food for long-term storage, short-term storage? Do you have water? Again, think about your water supply. Don't forget to add water to your food supply. Are you growing your own food at home? You know, I know a lot of time people want to take trips, get their hair done, nails done, you know, go out and spend money on whatever they want to spend it on. But, you know, and it's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do. You know, it's your money. You can certainly make that decision. But I caution you, and I want to suggest that you strongly consider, if you have not already, make sure that when ish hits the fan, that you have what you need at your home to provide for you and your family. Don't say, hey, I'm gonna, you know, go. I don't have to do any of these things. I know my family has a homestead. I can just go eat with them. It's not gonna be that easy. Everyone is going to be focused on feeding who's in their household, okay? People outside of their household, people that don't live with them, they may have to get what's left, if anything is left. So again, make sure you stock up on foods, long-term storage, foods for your emergency food supply. Make sure you have water, water supply. We'll talk about more things here on the channel, but y'all, you got to get prepared. Get prepared. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for trusting me to bring you news and information. And thank you so much for subscribing to Andrea Speaks TV. I'll see y'all on another video.